Valentine is coming. Where is your boyfriend? He was sitting at home. Hi guys, hello everybody watching. Welcome to April's TV, where I get to teach everything I know about baking and decoration. So today we're going to be learning how to make this really beautiful geometry chocolate heart. Valentine is coming in about 2 weeks time, and what's the best thing to use to celebrate Valentine if not cakes, chocolate, flowers, and so much love? And as a baker, sometimes the demand for hearts is usually very high. There are heart-shaped cakes, heart-shaped designs, and so much more. And so on. I saw this really beautiful geometry chocolate heart on a friend's page, so I had to rush down to my local supply store. So I got the mold and I tried out how to make the geometry heart, and it came out really beautifully. It was really nice. And so in this video I'm going to be teaching us how to make a 3D geometry chocolate heart, as well as a simple a simple chocolate heart using a chocolate mold. You can get these molds at the supply store. It's really high on demand right now, so you would find it in any good local store around you. You find any of the molds rather in any good local store around you. And also I used it to design 2 cakes in 2 different ways, so you're going to be seeing how to do that as well. And so to make this geometry heart is actually very easy. You don't need so much things. But before we proceed, please, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, so click on the subscribe button. Is it here or here? I think it's here or here. Anyway, just click on the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel, because you don't want to miss any of the exciting videos we're going to be posting every week. And ensure to turn on the notification bell, because you need that ding dong to know that we've posted a video. So click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. So quickly, to do this geometry chocolate heart is actually very easy. Like I said earlier, you don't need so much thing. You just need the mold or the molds. You need the molds. You need a bowl to use to melt your chocolate. You can either melt your chocolate in a microwave oven, you can melt it over a double boiler using the Brain Marie method, or you can just melt it in a melting pot. Whichever one is fine to you, no problem. In this video I just melted it in my microwave, and it's very easy and straightforward for me. So I just melted it in my microwave and also went ahead to start creating my mold. So I'm going to show you in this video. Let's just get right to it. Hi guys, welcome back. So quickly I want to show you, this is what the geometry mold look like. This is a smaller size, there's a bigger size, and you see it's got these lines at the back to help it stand, prop up without breaking the hearts. And here I'm using white chocolate. This is just Colata compound chocolate, and I'm using in white. It's in 1 kg and bars of 200 grams. So I'm just using 200 grams, and I have chopped that chocolate bar into smaller bits so that when I'm melting it in my microwave oven, it's going to melt easier and faster, because if it takes so much time, I won't be able to use it for what I want to use it for. So I have melted my chocolate. This is a really beautiful consistency. It's good for drips, good for chocolate art and any other thing. And also I've got this pink chocolate that I want to use to create just the regular hearts. I've also got the molds here. So this is what the pink chocolate looks like. It's a strawberry chocolate. So the first thing you want to do is so that's the mold. It's got really small cavities of hearts, like 2 different hearts in 1 cavity. So the first thing you want to do is pour your chocolate into your mold. Right, I just moved it so you can see it better. So you want to pour your chocolate first into your mold, then using the back of your spoon you just want to spread the chocolate around your mold. I didn't add anything because the material for the mold is silicone, so the chocolate is not going to stick. Right, it's going to pull off the mold pretty easily. So I'm just adding in my chocolate and using the back of my spoon to make sure the chocolate gets to the edges of the mold, like to spread it properly around the mold. And this is just to ensure that there are no sort of cracks or thin edges. I'm putting so much cognizance in the middle of the heart, because that part is really thin, and also the edges of the heart, because gravity would push the chocolate down to the
Gravity is just going to push the chocolate down to the bottom of the mold, leaving the edges of your mold pretty thin. So I'm just going to fill up this cavity because I'm making 3D chocolate hearts. Okay, so it's going to be like double-sided like the regular 3D. That's just what I'm doing. So just add chocolate to the mold, use your spoon to spread, add to the next cavity, use the spoon to spread. Make sure you cannot see the mold. Your chocolate has to be thick, lest I forget. Your chocolate has to be really thick, because if your chocolate is thin, when you try to pop it out of this mold, it is going to break. All right, it is going to break, and that has just defeated the whole idea of making a geometry mold. So I'm just adding my chocolate and, spreading, making sure every edge is covered. Now, if you're adding your chocolate and you find out that the mold is messy, don't bother about it. Don't worry about it, because by the time the chocolate freezes, you'll be able to just break it off. At this point, I couldn't decide. I was thinking of doing the marble design with the white and pink chocolate, but I couldn't decide. I'm glad I went for the marble. So like I was saying, if you find out that your mold is messy, don't even worry about it. When you put your mold in the freezer and your chocolate freezes up, it's going to pop easily. You're not going to have any extra strands or messy molds. And if you get a thin edge, you can easily just break it off or clean it off. So I had to get another spoon to be able to spread the marble, because I didn't want one color of chocolate to stain the other, because I'm going to be using just the pink chocolate to make the smaller chocolate hearts, not this 3D one. So I'm going to be making two marbles, two chocolate heart marbles, and just two plain more marbles, or rather two more plain marbles. So that's what I'm doing right now. And when you're spreading, especially when you're trying to marble with chocolate, because chocolate is thick, the second color of the chocolate might not get to the base of the other one. So you want to make sure you mix it in properly so that your marble will form on the exterior. Remember that this is the interior of the chocolate. The exterior is the part that is stuck to the mold. So you want to ensure that the marble design gets to the exterior. That's why you have to make sure you're mixing it properly. So I'm just making the second mold, the second plain chocolate heart mold that I said I was going to use, and I'm just spreading to make sure it's all right. After spreading, I'm just going to go and drop it in the fridge. All right, I'm just going to go and drop it in the fridge to ensure that to help it freeze. So now why I'm turning my mold is just to make sure that my chocolate gets to every edge. Remember, you don't want your edge to be thin. And so I'm just going to go and put my chocolate straight up in the fridge and leave it for about 5 minutes. It doesn't take any time for the chocolate to set. It doesn't take time at all. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. In fact, 10 minutes is too much. 3 to 5 minutes max, your chocolate to set. So at this point here, I have this flat plate, and I just want to use it to catch my excess chocolate that I'm going to be pouring out. You don't want to have excessive chocolate because it's just going to be waste. So after you have filled up all your cavities, spread your chocolate properly to the side, just turn your mold and pour out all those excess chocolates. So it is not too much, because if it's too much, it is just wastage. Okay. So after pouring, I just checked through the sides to make sure that every part is covered, and I found some spots there that are just exposed open, and I'm just like filling it up. And I'm also using the back of my spoon to take a little bit of chocolate and just sliding it at the edge to make sure that the edge has enough chocolate. Remember, the edge of this mold is going to be the thinnest, because gravity will push your chocolate down. All right, gravity would always push your chocolate down towards the bottom of the mold, and so the edge of your mold is going to be the thinnest. So what I'm just doing is to just make sure I'm adding extra chocolate to the edge, extra chocolate to the edge, because at this point the chocolate is already setting. All right, so just add extra chocolate to the edge, and once it's ready, give it a tap or two and pop it straight into your freezer. I've been saying fridge since, apologies. It's your freezer. The chocolate mold stays in your freezer for like 3 to 5 minutes and then it's ready. Okay. All right. Next, I want to start making my simple chocolate heart. So I'm just pouring back my excess chocolate into the bowl I used to melt the chocolate because I don't want it to set on the plate and neither do I want my chocolate to waste. So I've got this really cute mold here. You can see that the cavities are actually very thin, and so pouring it directly with a spoon would just create a whole mess. So what I'm doing is pouring my chocolate into a piping bag that I have cut the tip to be very thin to just fit into the cavity. And I'm just going to be using this piping bag to pour my chocolate into the mold to fill up the cavity. Okay, so that's just what I'm doing. I'm pouring just enough to fill the mold. I'm not pouring excess because I don't want it to spill out. This process was actually very tiring because at the point it was just becoming too much for me. So it was pouring out. I had to clean again and again and again. But you want to make sure that you are keep putting in mind only the chocolate enough to fill up the holes. The holes are actually very thin and very shallow, but it's enough to hold fluid. It's enough to hold the chocolate mold and give it a beautiful, beautiful result. So that's just what I'm doing. All right. So the mold has two cavities per heart. So this mold will create 8 hearts for you. But I'm doing only 4 because I need only the bigger size of the heart. I don't need the smaller size of the heart. Number one. And number two, because the mold is very, very shallow, if you make a mistake by pouring chocolate in the big side and the big space, or rather the big cavity and the small cavity, your chocolate might spill and form just one whole chocolate, and you don't want that. So after filling up the mold, I'm just tapping it a little bit on the table to make sure that every nook and cranny of the cavity is filled, and the parts that are not filled, I'm just adding my chocolate to just fill up every cavity and hitting it on the table. Did I say knocking before? I just hitting it on the table to make sure that every cavity is filled. That's just what I'm doing. And once I'm done, I'm going to pop this right into the freezer. Now you want to put this on a surface before putting it in the freezer, preferably your rack. You cannot just put it in your freezer like that, because if the mold freezes, it might stick to your freezer. I experienced this some time ago. I just popped it into my freezer, like at the base of my freezer, and it froze. So in trying to bring out my mold, I broke all the chocolates. Okay, all the chocolates had to break. So you want to put this on the rack in your freezer. If you don't have a rack in your freezer, you could just get a makeshift rack or use a plate or something to just pop it in the freezer. It just needs that heat. It don't need to freeze so badly that you need to put it on your base. So that's it. Hey guys, so my chocolate hearts are set already. You can see that they are pretty hard. They're not pouring at all. And now I'm just going back to reinforce the edges of the chocolates in the mold. So what I'm just doing is using or taking advantage of the cold of the chocolate. I'm just adding extra chocolate by the side. Chocolate will definitely freeze in the presence of cold. So I'm just adding extra chocolate by the side of by the edges of the chocolate in the mold to make sure that the edges are thick enough. They're not thin, so when I'm popping it out of the mold, it doesn't break. If you cannot use a spoon, you can easily use a brush. You don't need so much, just thin chocolate on each side to make sure that the sides are strong enough. And that's just what I'm doing. You can see I'm just like sliding my spoon so the chocolate will just drip naturally and just hang on the sides. All right, so that's just what I'm doing. This making this mold took me about, to make 4 molds, I used about 200 grams of chocolate. In fact, I didn't finish it. I used about, let's say, 160 grams of chocolate. Okay, and that's because this has to be really, really thick. Okay, this has to be really, really thick because the geometric mold has some kind of edges that if your chocolate is not thick enough, it will break when you're trying to pop it out of the mold. So you want to make sure that your chocolate is really, really thick, and that's why I had to use as much as 160 to 200 grams. All right. So that's it. So once I'm done reinforcing the edges of my chocolate, I'm just going to pop it back into the freezer to make sure that it stiffens properly, to make sure that it is hard enough. That way, popping it out of the mold it's not going to be hard. Like, popping it out of the mold is the most important thing, because you don't want to make any mistake. You don't want to have your chocolate breaking, because once your chocolate has broken, you have to go and start all over. You have to go and start melting the chocolate. And remember, when this chocolate goes in the freezer and it comes out, there's going to be some level of condensation. So water from the environment is going to be introduced on the chocolate. And when you go and you try to melt your chocolate, try to temper your chocolate, the temper of your cocoa butter buns would break. And so your chocolate might not form in the beautiful fluid form it's supposed to be, in order to be able to make really amazing chocolate art. So you want to make sure that you want to be safe instead of sorry. So add enough chocolate, don't worry. If you're using it for a client, make sure you cost right, but add enough chocolate. So I'm just going to use some of my strawberry chocolate to reinforce the edges of the marbled chocolate. And I'm adding so much. That's because, oh, pardon me, the fly was just walking up and down. I couldn't bear it anymore. So I said I was adding extra or thicker quantity of pink chocolate, and that's because bringing my chocolate out of the fridge, I found out that this particular marbled chocolates were actually really thin. I could see the base of the mold, and that wouldn't have been good for me, because when I'm popping it out of the fridge of the mold, it is going to break, which I don't want. So I'm just adding like really thicker chocolates to make sure that it is thick enough, it don't break when I try to bring it out, when I try to pop it out of the mold after I have frozen it. So that's just what I'm doing, making sure I reinforce it, add so much more chocolate. At this point, my mold was messy, but I didn't really mind, because when I'm popping my chocolate out of the mold, all those extras at the edge would break. So I didn't really mind at that point. And after doing this, I tried to see if there was any excess that I would want to pour, but then I realized that it was already frozen. Okay, it was already thick. There was no way, there was no need for me to start pouring, but I still tried. I still tried, so I'll be able to like save a little bit. A I forgot a cavity, so I'm just filling it up at this point. So I tried to pour out to see if I was gonna get any excesses, but nah, I didn't get nothing. You're gonna see it now. If I started laughing, I was like, well, what was I thinking? This is cold. The chocolate has gone hard already. Whew. You can see the weight of the chocolate is already bending the mold. That's for you to know how thick the chocolate is. Okay? So I had gone back to pop it in the fridge for an extra 2 minutes, and now I'm just trying to bring out my chocolate out of the mold. This chocolate broke. It broke at the center, and that's because the center was pretty thin. It was really, really thin. It couldn't hold. So it broke at the center, but every other chocolate came out beautifully. It didn't break. And also, there's a trick to popping out your chocolate. You don't want to just open the mold and just start like rushing it. You have to be very, very careful, because these babies right here, they are so fragile. You can see me taking my time to bring out the chocolate, and look at how beautiful it is. I did a little victory dance, because man, I was standing on a very thin thread. I was hanging by a very thin thread, rather. So you can see, I'm just trying to show you how to pop it from the base of the heart. Just press it and gently peel out your chocolate from it. Better still, peel your mold off your chocolate. That's the best way to go about it, so your chocolate don't break. So I'm just carefully gonna do that for everything. You can see me taking my time, and you can see all those excesses breaking off. So I've got this really beautiful edge on my geometry chocolate. I've got this really nice edge. There's no extras or extremely long chocolate. Look at how beautiful that chocolate, that marbled heart is. It is so beautiful, guys. It's really, really beautiful. It was my favorite. I couldn't just get over it. But then I had to use it on the cake now. So I fell in love with the cake anyways. So you can see we've got all our beautiful, beautiful geometry hearts out. And so the next thing to do is to create a surprise pack. So here I've got, please don't mind my pan. Please don't laugh at my pan. So I've got this really hot pan here. I've got some sprinkles, some Valentine sprinkles in hearts, kisses, love, fimmies, and pearls. So I'm going to be filling some of the hearts with sprinkles, and my pan is hot. The reason why my pan is hot is so that I would be able to, it's to be able to melt my chocolate properly, but it's not too hot to burn the chocolate. Just there's no measurements. We just make sure your pan is hot, not warm. If it's warm, your chocolate won't melt properly. You want it to be hot. So I'm just pouring hot sprinkles, just pouring like basic random sprinkles into the mold, and then I'm going to pick up another mold and just press it down and just go round and round to melt the edge of the chocolate. And just, I'm sorry guys, I went out of frame. I wasn't looking. I just wanted to look closely to see what I was doing. I'm so sorry. So I just pressed it together and it formed. Yeah, it's just going to clip. It's going to clip together. It's going to hold together because the chocolate is going to melt into each other and form. So I'm just making sure, I'm just doing this to clean off every excesses on the side. And this was kind of rough. It had some holes that I didn't like. Although our sprinkles were not coming out, but it had some kind of holes that I didn't like. So I decided I was going to melt the two parts of the chocolate. The parts where the sprinkle, I'm going to pour the sprinkle in, and the second part that is going to kiss the chocolate. So that's just what I'm doing. It reduced the overall width of the chocolate, yes, but I had a very nice smooth edge. You wouldn't know that this is handmade. You would think it was made by a machine. I left the frame again. Oh my god. Don't worry guys, I brought it closer to the camera so you would see. It's just that I actually set my tripod to be a little bit shorter. So you can see the melted chocolate on my finger. I'm just trying to clean it off. And you can see how beautiful it is. You can see how there are no holes on the side. So I'm just going to do this again for one more chocolate heart. And that's because it's supposed to be 4, but one of our hearts broke. So there's no way we can use it because it's not going to work. And here I'm just pouring only heart sprinkles. Like, they're my favorite. They're so beautiful. I'm just pouring only heart sprinkles. And the next thing I'm going to do is just melt my edge and kiss it. Now, when you kiss it, you might find some excesses by the side. Just use your finger to clean it. Like I'm showing. This is what I brought closer to my eye to see, to make sure that I was getting it right. But here you have it. And we have this beautiful geometric chocolate. I'm just trying to clean my hand because it's got chocolate all over it. And you can see how beautiful this is. And that's how to get your beautiful geometric chocolate with surprise in it. You could put cake, you could put brownies, you could put love notes, you could put sprinkles, you could put anything, and you would have the beautiful geometry mold. You could even leave it and decorate that way. Next, I've got my heart out of the oven. Oh my god, out of the freezer. And I'm just trying to pop it out of the mold. Now remember I said that the cavity is actually very shallow and very thin, which means you have to be extra careful when you're bringing your chocolate out of the mold. If not, it would break. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm just peeling the mold off the chocolate to make sure that it doesn't break gently. You have to be very gentle. I'm peeling the mold from the chocolate both outside and inside, and you see why I didn't put it in the smaller cavity, because I had to press into the smaller cavity to be able to bring out the chocolate. So if there was chocolate inside that smaller cavity, it would have broken. And yes, we have our chocolate mold. We've got one, and I'm just going to carefully bring out the remaining molds or the remaining chocolates from the molds. You can see how gently I'm doing it. Like I had to I had to have the chocolate rest on my hand, and okay, I'm gonna do a little victory dance, of course. So I had to have the chocolate rest on my hand because it was pretty thin and it was so hard to bring out. This chocolate actually broke because I lost my cool at some point. I was like, oh, I'm like, why? Why stressing me, bro? Why stressing me, man? I'm still going to use to decorate a cake, no doubt. I mean, it's chocolate. It would form a sort of decoration, but I need the full heart. And you can see me gently just pressing on the sides of the chocolates, pressing the molds on the side of the chocolate for the molds to be able to release the chocolate. And you can see how beautiful and thin the chocolate is. So that is how to make the beautiful chocolate hearts and the beautiful geometry chocolate hearts. So there you have it. That's how to make your beautiful geometric chocolate heart and your normal chocolate heart. You can see, you can send surprises, you can put cakes, you can put anything with it and just send to your loved one. Here I use it as a topper to decorate this beautiful acetate cake, and here I use it as a side design to decorate this lovely blue cake. So make sure you try it and send me a picture or tag me on Instagram at April's Said. Bye.